Hey everybody, welcome back to another Marathon Marketing Moment. And yeah, if you listen to our first one, my co-host Mark Weber is here with me, and with the first one, we weren't sure what we were going to call it. But there's Mark's laughing in the background. Mark's background is primarily as a professional photographer with a long list of accomplishments over the years, and my background is more on the operational business and marketing side. But then Mark is also on the marketing side, involved with so many different projects at Marathon Press. And Marathon has absolutely, I don't want this to sound like an infomercial, but they've led the industry on so many different projects to help photographers build a stronger business. So keeping that in mind, the whole concept of these episodes are to share ideas with you that are going to help build a stronger brand. And we're going to jump in today and talk about blogging, which always comes up at every workshop I do. So, Mark, welcome to another Marathon Marketing Moment.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
And blogging has become a bigger passion of mine than ever before. And I had a friend recently ask me, Mark, do I need to blog in order to stay relevant in today's business world? And it made me think, it is definitely a marketing tool and it should be a priority in there. Don't you agree?
Oh, I absolutely do. I mean, here my pitch on it, first of all, is yes, you can survive without a blog. It's the same way that every now and then you meet one photographer out there that doesn't have a website. Now, it's rare, and it's usually somebody that's in a relatively small community and is probably second or third or even fourth generation in the business. So it's one of those communities. It's like Mayberry RFD. Everybody knows everybody in the community. But the reason to me you need a blog is that your website is about what you sell and your blog is about what's in your heart. And they work together like advertising and publicity. Publicity gives your advertising credibility. A blog gives your website more credibility because you get to share yourself.
Absolutely. And it helps you build trust, which is a big factor in every business today, but I think even more so with photographers because there's so many that come and go out of our industry that it's kind of hard to build that trust when people get burned when they can't go back to the photographer maybe they went to a couple of years ago.
Well, and then you also get into what do they call it? Urban myths, where I can't tell you how many times I've had a bride or I've heard that a bride said, well, a friend of mine had a photographer who took so long on the portraits on the formal portraits at the beginning of the wedding that she missed her own reception. I don't believe, yes, that probably happened once somewhere in the world, but I don't believe that happens. And it certainly doesn't happen anymore. And it doesn't happen if your photographer knows what you're doing. But these urban myths crop up, and that violates that trust, where if you use your blog right, and we're going to get into specifics today, everybody, on things you should be doing to create a good blog. I mean, right out of the blocks, and Mark, feel free to jump on this. By the way, everybody, these are unrehearsed. This is just based on Mark and I both loving this industry and having a whole lot of years of combined involvement in imaging, in photography, in the marketing and business side as well. So right off the bat, your biggest issue with blogging, first of all, people will ask, how often should I blog? I've got my opinion. What do you think, Mark?
Well, minimum, be consistent and do it at least a couple times a week. The people that are really strong with it, they'll do it multiple times a day, believe it or not. But that's kind of unrealistic because most photographers honestly just have a really hard time figuring out, first of all, what they want to write for the content and then just when to do it. So yeah, tell me what you
All right,
heard.
that's right where I am. Twice a week, but I'm going to be more specific. Pick 2 days a week, and I would recommend like a Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday. I wouldn't bother. I don't think Friday is a particularly good day. Although I know with my blog, in terms of the industry, a lot of times I I can do a post on a Friday, but you have to remember who my audience is. My audience is all of you who are listening now. So I'm interested in photographers. So every now and then there's a topic that makes sense before people go out and may have events to shoot over the weekend, or they may have a portrait session. I also find Mondays to be good for photographers because a lot of studios are closed on Mondays, and that's the day that everybody is uploading images from the wedding or the event they shot earlier in the weekend. So I'm also at a minimum of twice a week, but also pick the same day and roughly the same time that you release and let people know about your blog post.
Excellent. Yep. And I've always, my mentor early in my career, Lau Ramsey, taught me what gets scheduled gets done. And that putting something in your calendar where you are going to not only post your blog, but write the content for it and then be able to post it. But if you schedule that, you're going to get it done. You just like you would an appointment.
Yeah. Let's go to another specific piece. Blogs don't have to be long. In fact, they shouldn't be too long. Now, I can get away with up to 1,000 words sometimes, but again, mine are very specific, and they may be tips on some particular way to do a direct mail piece. In fact, often those will involve something from Marathon, because my recommendation would be to get it printed with you guys. But I can get away with that, and I'll break it down in bullets or numbered points. But for the most part, they really don't need to be any more than 100 to 400 words in terms of length. But here's the key that everybody seems to forget. Remember who your audience is. You've got to know your demographics. You can't go ahead and post something that is of no interest. And how do you know your demographics? Well, I'm betting that 98% of everybody listening right now, and I'll give you another 98%, your target audience are moms.
Yeah.
Women make most of the decisions in the portrait social category.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah. In fact, just to give you one more specific, I did a blog review for a young photographer. This is going back about 10 years ago. And she did this great blog post about how she and her girlfriends had gone out. She was very excited to have me read it. And I'm doing this whole website review and looking at her blog too. And it was very funny. It was very well written. In fact, it was like the script out of Animal House. And she and 3 girlfriends had gone out the night before. Everybody got drunk. One of her friends went home and slept with the drummer. And it was cute. It was funny. And then I said to her, all right, this is well written. And she said, oh, this is great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I said, yeah, but you want to publish this on your blog. What are you trying to do with your business? She said, well, I want to be a children and family photographer in my community. And I started laughing, and I said, now I want you to think about who your target audience is. Your target is mom, and mom may have days when she can look back and laugh about, her high school and college days when she was crazy, but now she's got a responsibility for her kids and her family. I said, is mom going to be comfortable knowing you're, reading more into your lifestyle than you really mean to share? And she hadn't seen it that way. Mm-hmm. So that's where your content that you publish has got to be relevant.
Absolutely. And that the beauty of the blog, because you don't want to make it long, enables you to put something together pretty quick. And you want to personalize it in a way that, it's your brand. And it also proves you're an industry leader, because in your community, there's probably a lot of photographers, but there's probably very few that blog.
Yep. And that's where you get a chance to show your heart a little bit. Now, when I say show your heart, it doesn't mean that you've got to bleed all over somebody's monitor. This is about, you can be personal. You can talk about things like why you love being a photographer. You can talk about ways to improve your images. I mean, be helpful. That's one of the greatest points that Scott Bourne has made over the years when he talks about blogging and social media, is just being out there and being helpful. And right now, this is a good time for you and I to talk about this, because coming off of the pandemic, there's never been a better time or a stronger, renewed sense of family in the United States, in fact, in the world. And then if you add in the horrific challenges in Ukraine right now. And I don't want to get into the politics and world situation, but there's so many horrible things out there going on around us and have been for the last couple of years that you have an opportunity as an artist and a blogger and a photographer to talk about the importance of capturing memories. And that's where that plays back into that renewed sense of family. And that's where your content needs to be, engaging. And that's why I said it's okay to be personal. It's okay to talk about your own frustrations. And also for photographers that have young kids, talk about things that you're doing in imaging to keep your kids motivated and excited.
Absolutely. And the other benefit to that is you can boost your not only your brand awareness, but you've also got a chance to boost your contact list because people can sign up for things. You can have downloadable content, maybe tips on how to dress for your family portrait or how to decorate with family photography. All of those things help your customer or potential customer get inspired. And at the same time, besides helping them, you're growing your following.
Yeah, actually, you want to go into some ideas? Because I've got some I scribbled down here.
Yeah, great.
With the spring seasonality coming up, I mean, I know we're pre-recording this, everybody, but it's going to run in sometime in the next week or two or whenever. You've got Mother's Day coming up. You've got graduation. You've got Father's Day. You've got prom. Do a blog post on gift ideas, on ways, share ideas on things you can do with photographs, from frames to albums to prints. You look at, and I'm going to plug Marathon because you shouldn't because you work for them.
Yeah.
But I love Bella Art Prints and using prints and giving people ideas on what they can do. And then I'll give you a second one, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mark. I started to say before, help your audience become better artists. It doesn't matter what they're shooting with, but there are things that you do every single day, and people are always saying there's nothing to write about. Well, there is a lot to write about. You could easily come up with 10 blog posts right now that you could fill up the pipeline so you had something in reserve that were all on tips on imaging. Talk about composition, talk about backlighting. It doesn't matter. Talk about black and white versus color. I mean, there's so many posing. All of you do things every single day that you completely take for granted that you could go ahead and you could help mom or dad, whoever your readership is, just become better artists. And it doesn't matter if they're using their cell phone or a real camera.
Good point. That's something Bruce Hudson really embraced too, was inspire your customers and they're going to appreciate your work even more. You can tell and share some tips on how to get the best images from your phone camera, and talk about, like you mentioned, composition. And let's face it, everybody today considers themselves a photographer with these new phones, and they are amazing. I mean, now the new iPhones have select focus, and you can talk about not only the photography part, but post-production stuff and software to use. And if you teach some sort of class that you want to, educate your clients further, you can say, if you're interested in this, here's a class I do once a month on Saturdays, or download my top 10 tips on how to be a better phone photographer, or whatever it might be. Or if you're interested in buying your first camera, whatever. So bottom line, you're staying in touch with the things that they're interested in. And it's not always a hard sell on you and your promotions. It's about the real world.
Yeah, here's another real easy idea. Support your community. Years ago, J. Conrad Levinson spoke, and he's the one that coined the words guerrilla marketing, and he's the father of guerrilla marketing. He passed away a few years back, but he talked about how in the top 100 things that guerrilla marketers need to do is to be involved in your community. And that's because you're looking for the community to be good to you. You've got to be good to your community because people like buying products and services that they perceive are coming from companies that give back. So one easy way to support your community is to become a clearinghouse calendar of events. all you have to do for content is talk about different events that are coming up. Now what happens is that you also get perceived as being an ambassador. For example, I'm not sure when it is, but ever since my mom had Alzheimer's and we lost her to Alzheimer's, we like to try and get over to the Alzheimer's walk once a year. Well, if I was doing a blog post to the consumer side of the Sarasota area, there's a topic that I would share. And if I was a photographer working full time, I'd be there. I'd go off to help. It doesn't matter if you're on the sidelines taking pictures that you're going to give to the association or sponsor, or if you're over in the booster booth filling ketchup and mustard bottles because they also happen to have some kind of refreshment stand. Whatever it is, look for ways that you can give back and look for that calendar that you keep on your blog and start sharing regular events.
Love that. Charity is one of my passions, and I'm so glad you brought that up. In fact, you could do an interview with your local charitable organization that you're going to network with, whether it be like March of Dimes or some sort of animal shelter. But think about the vendors that are in your community that you could interview. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. You're networking with other businesses that are after the same type of customer you are, and you're also helping give that particular vendor a little more advertising, and he's going to tell his customers, hey, I'm on such and such's blog, tune in, and you let that vendor know when you're going to run it. But you can do 5 quick interview questions like, how did you get started in this? And what is your favorite part of the job, and where do you go to school for something like this? And what are your hobbies? And what do you recommend for anybody that wants to get into it? It can be 5 quick questions. And of course, you can edit it down if you get lengthy. But yeah, if you can interview influencers and vendors to network and help charitable events like that, oh my gosh, what a beautiful thing that is.
Yeah, let me throw one more out. This is funny, everybody. Remember, this is new for Mark and I to do, and we set out with a goal to keep these to 15 minutes or less. This is a topic that's going to go to 20. So, because you can't do it in 15. In fact, you can't do it in 20 either. Yeah. But one other idea that comes up with people with who want to do a blog is, what do you do when you hate to write or you're a horrible writer? Well, this is real easy. Go to the high school and find yourself an A student in English. Go talk to the English teacher. Farm it out. Mm-hmm. You're gonna find a kid that loves to write. Sometimes you might even find an English teacher who's willing to do a little something on the side just to be involved. You're not going to pay big bucks. This isn't going to get them a Pulitzer, but it's going to get you content. And by using another writer, they're essentially going to do a quick phone conversation with you, or maybe if you're in a small community and meet with them personally, that's great too. And you're just going to say, hey, I want to do a series of blog posts. Here are the topics. Here's what I know about it. You're going to give them a rough draft and then ask them to finish it off. So you can build a stash of content, because you should be blogging. Remember, we said twice a week. And if you can build a stash in advance, and right now during what's still a little bit slow for everybody, this is the slow season, now's the time to build a little bit of a stash. So when things get crazy, you've got some things in the pipeline that fall in line with the topics Mark and I have been sharing.
You can go to, like, if you've got a local college or junior college. My daughter was an English major. College kids are usually very organized, the talented ones, and they're usually not looking for a long-term job if they've got a scholarship, because they need to really concentrate on their grades. But if you've got someone, you can post something on their bulletin board, and if it's not going to take much time and they can earn $50 or whatever it is you can afford to pay, they'll be interested, because it doesn't take someone much time once they get connected with you and know your style and what you want communicated.
Yeah, this is so easy to do, but it does take discipline. Again, it's not rocket science, but you've got to be consistent. Your heart's got to be right there out front saying, all right, this is what I want to do. And you also can't start and then stop and then start and stop, because what happens as you build readership, and great content is king, as you build readership, people start to get excited. They start to look forward to what you're going to share. And when you start blogging every time there's a full moon, they lose interest. Not only that, but they start to wonder whether or not you're still in business.
Yep.
I have found that just because I blog every single day and I do a thing called Sunday Morning Reflections on my own blog and website, if I miss a couple of days, I get emails from friends saying, "Is everything all right?" Because I've been doing this long enough. So that's where you want to be consistent. So we're kind of out of time. And if you need to find me or Mark, or you've got ideas for future podcasts, you'll find me at skip@mei500.com. I'm also Skip Cohen on Twitter and Skip Cohen on Facebook. And Mark, where do they find you?
I'm available, Mark W. at marathonpress.net, and that's Mark with a K. My phone number is 800-228-0629, extension 283.
Thanks for listening in. Thanks for being a part of an industry that Mark and I love. And go out, and if you're in one of those ruts where you're not having fun with what you're doing and you're waking up as a grouch every morning, then it's time for you to take an hour or a day or a couple of days off and just go out with your camera and shoot for the fun of it, where you're the client and not working for anybody else. That's it, everybody. Stay safe and healthy, and thanks for being part of another Marathon Marketing Moment.